Hello, everyone. Welcome back. I'm excited to have the opportunity to introduce Aaron Gani, the founder and CEO of BehaveVR. I'm particularly excited because BehaveVR and Aaron are examples of a really amazing thing that's going on right now in our field. The companies are moving from the early stage to the later stage. They're gathering momentum. They're validating their interventions. They're forming alliances with larger channel partners and really building a business, not just having something that's an academic exercise. I'm also particularly excited because the areas of intervention that Aaron, you've chosen to focus on, anxiety and depression, are so important, especially in today's world with dealing with COVID. So Aaron, so glad that you're here and looking forward to hearing your presentation.
Well, thank you, Walter. And thank you to the team at Hoag, in particular, Dr. Lewis, for the invitation to present today and be with this great group. We're delighted to have our association with Hoag, which I'll tell you more about during our presentation. And it's great to be a part of this community that's advancing the field of XR and healthcare. So let's see, let's advance here. Okay, all right, so a very brief introduction of myself. I'm a lifelong technologist, got into healthcare in 2006 when I joined Humana. I was at Humana for 12 years in a variety of information technology and innovation roles and was the CTO there when I left. I founded Behavior in 2016 for a couple of reasons. One, on just sort of a personal level, I had wanted my own business for most of my life, most of my professional life. And I got to a place in my life where I thought, I can't not do this anymore. There's something deep inside of me that wanted to go create a new capability that we believe can have a huge impact on the world, and happy to be doing that. But I spent a few years in advance of launching the company thinking about what problem I wanted to tackle that was significant enough and meaningful enough personally and in the world to spend 10 years or so of your life at least on pouring so much energy into. And so what I settled on was to tackle areas of behavioral health and mental health. And as I'll speak about in a few minutes, we just really believe that this is an area of such great unmet need that we need to kind of fundamentally rethink how people get access to care for mental and behavioral health care. And I settled on that as a problem to tackle for two reasons. One is in my personal life and in immediate family and extended family, I've seen the incredible impacts that undiagnosed and unmanaged mental and behavioral health care challenges can have. It's dramatic, the negative impact on quality of life for that person suffering as well as extended family that it can have. So it's personally meaningful, but also in my years at Humana and learning from my very smart colleagues there, what I came to understand was that it's like the meta comorbidity. Whatever your level of physical health, whether you're in perfect physical health or all the way through, let's say, multiple chronic conditions, perhaps that you're living with, if you add in an unmanaged or undiagnosed mental or behavioral health care challenge, life can get really, really challenging in a hurry. So quality of life declines significantly. And from a value perspective, the impact that you have on the healthcare system, and you'll go from potentially being one of the most expensive people in the healthcare system if you're living with chronic diseases, and then you'll get that much more expensive. So it's both an economic opportunity and challenge, and more importantly, a very deep personal opportunity in terms of the impact on people's lives. So that's what we're doing at Behavior. And bear with me as I get used to our internet clicker here. So our mission at Behavior is this: to fundamentally reimagine how people access and experience behavioral and mental health care. And critically, we want to do this at scale. We've built our capabilities and our platform and experiences to be extremely scalable. We don't believe that digital by itself is often the solution. We think generally you need clinicians at some level, but we do believe that digital first should be the way that we tackle these conditions. So I think cast a very, very broad net to capture as many people as we can who need care. Maybe they're not even completely aware that they need care, or they're like, yeah, I'm not in that bad a shape. It's not worth going and entering the traditional mental health care system. That's inconvenient, that's expensive. That's not me. Maybe I don't feel like I need a psychologist or psychiatrist today. Well, we think we can reach more of those people through very accessible digital means to get them some level of help. And then for some, they can sort of triage up to a level of clinician care to somebody that is sort of suitable for their condition, somebody operating at top of license to help them. So the backdrop on this is, stress and anxiety, even pre-pandemic, were at all-time highs. So many people, about 20% of the US population suffers in a given year from some mental health challenge. About 60% of those people receive no help at all. And for those who are in this group who need help, they're 3 to 5 times more likely to visit a doctor, 6 times more likely to be hospitalized. There's a very strong comorbidity between depression and anxiety and substance use disorders. And so these people are suffering, their quality of life suffers, and they're very expensive in the system. And I'm gonna drill down into one particular area in a few minutes as well, which is perinatal mood and anxiety disorders. So a subset of these people who are suffering are pregnant women who are struggling with various stages or phases of their pregnancy as well. So what we do at Behavior is create digital therapeutics for combating chronic stress and anxiety and related disorders. We deliver these inside what we believe firmly is the most psychologically and neurologically powerful medium, which is virtual reality. And critically, we've built our solutions so that while sometimes they are accessed in clinical settings, that's where we started, they're also accessible in-home on a private basis where people are doing so much more these days in healthcare and life in general. But because of our system architecture and our platform, we keep them connected to clinicians who may be overseeing or influencing their care throughout their care journey. What actually occurs inside our programs is can be summarized as follows. So these are progressive multi-session programs. Our platform tracks you over time. So if our patient is Walter Greenleaf, we're going to track Walter through his progression through these programs. These are obviously immersive in a virtual reality medium, but critically sort of embodying and making immersive aspects of evidence-based cognitive behavioral therapies and process-based CBT, which we are translating into these embodied immersive experiences in VR, working with our scientific advisory board and clinical team. And so what you see here on the right is a current state summary of where we are taking evidence-based elements of cognitive behavioral therapies, and that is plural. Often people think of CBT as a thing. It's actually a whole collection of process-based therapies. Some of those we believe are ideally suited to be translated to digital, but even beyond digital into a virtual reality medium for reasons that I'll explain in just a moment. So within this platform, what people are getting is a progressive care plan with clinical oversight in many cases, all connected via our platform. Within each of our programs, we have a core protocol that we refer to as SAFE. So stress, anxiety, and fear extinction. And this is aligned with the unique neurological power of the medium of virtual reality and critically how our brains process threats. So to break down SAFE at a high level, the S is addressing chronic activation of the body stress response. So getting somebody out of this chronic sympathetic nervous system activation into parasympathetic dominance. This is candidly pretty easy to do in VR. It's almost magical in this medium. When we put you into a calming virtual space or experience, let's put you on a beach or in a beautiful nature scene or just some beautiful setting and guide you through some basic things like diaphragmatic breathing and the like. It's pretty easy and pretty powerful to get you out of that chronic activation of sort of fight or flight response, right? So that's where it starts. That's good, and that's a good starting point, but it's not enough. Beyond that, we progress to address anxiety. And the way that we're addressing or combating anxiety is through building mindfulness skills and emotion regulation skills. So this is about combating that tendency that many of us have to get into a set of sort of racing thoughts, right? And worry and rumination and which just tends to build and build. Anxiety is less cyclical than depression. It can tend to build. And if we don't address it in some way, it will just sort of tend to get worse and worse and worse over time. So through mindfulness skill building, emotion regulation, skill building, and elements of those process-based CBTs that I've touched on briefly, things like cognitive reframing, diffusion and distancing. We can help combat these anxious feelings and these our thoughts sort of racing away from us. And then the FE is fear extinction. So this is using the power of VR to create an exposure therapy experience. And so at a high level, and I thought about going deeper into the sort of neuroscience of why VR is so good for exposure therapy. I thought I'm not going to do that in this presentation for a couple of reasons. One is many people in the audience probably have attended many VR conferences, and this tends to get addressed a lot about how this multisensory simulation is neurologically powerful for activating our brain's threat processing centers. You may have heard me talk about that in other sessions if you've been to some of these conferences. And we have a variety of other great speakers in this program who are addressing some of the why VR components. So just we'll keep it at a high level for now and say that there is ample evidence collected over literally a couple of decades of the power of the virtual reality medium for conducting exposure therapy and very powerfully activating arousal in our patients through this exposure therapy that we can create through this multisensory simulation. I'm getting used to this internet clicker. Bear with me. All right. Briefly, a little bit about our company history and product pipeline. I founded the company in 2016. The first couple of years, it was a very small team. I still had my day job at Humana, just had a couple of engineers, and we set out to build our cloud platform, what we call our dynamic experience engine, which is the brain or the controlling entity across all of our programs. So for the first couple of years, we were really just doing R&D work. We began to commercialize in 2018. When we brought our chronic pain program, specifically a pain neuroscience education program to market in partnership with Evidence in Motion. EIM is an organization that has trained tens of thousands of physical therapists and in everything about physical therapy, but including therapeutic pain science curricula. And so working with Dr. Adrian Lowe and the EIM team, we created our pain neuroscience education program. In 2019, we began our relationship with Dr. Rob Lewis and the team at Hoag and the Women's Health Institute, Dr. Allison Brooks and her team. And I'm going to go into more detail in a moment about our work with Hoag, which we're very proud of, which culminated in our maternal mental health program, NurtureVR. So we'll come back to that topic. We've also partnered with the Johns Hopkins team to create Centered VR, which is a workplace stress program. And then our relationship really began in 2019, but has continued to progress with our pharmaceutical partners at Sumitomo Dynapon Pharma and their US subsidiary Synovian. We have begun our work on digital therapeutics. So Walter mentioned this progression or progressive path that we've been on. Our first three programs were general wellness programs from an FDA perspective, not making claims about treating or healing, but taking evidence-based techniques, psychoeducation, and skill building capabilities, creating digital immersive versions of those to bring people along a healing or a wellness path. And now we are progressing through our digital therapeutics development journey with our partners at DSP. We'll have another announcement just within a couple of weeks that I'm very excited about that you'll see in early to mid-October of an expansion with DSP. And then we have some other potential things in the pipeline as well related to digital therapeutics. So we are on a journey. One thing that I would share that I think has been vital to our the fact that we're still here and the level of success that we have had, although we are not claiming any victory, this is a progression that we're on, is we have been so appreciative and frankly fortunate to have great partners like the organizations that you see highlighted here. We embraced this concept early on that we're a small team and we have our vision and our capabilities, but bringing expanded brain power to the table and working with these clinical experts like a Dr. Adrian Lowe at EIM, like Dr. Allison Brooks and Rob Lewis at Hoag, like the great team at DSP and Hopkins, we can bring more people's experience, more people's passion and brain power and get them behind this shared mission and journey that we're on, which we think is a very powerful way to progress this in the space. And I think in general, in this still relatively nascent industry, this is important to kind of expand the tent and get more people involved. So I'm delighted to progress now and tell you a little bit more about NurtureVR, which is our partnership with Hoag. A little bit of a backdrop. Early on when we met with Dr. Lewis and Dr. Brooks at Hoag, Dr. Brooks made a statement. She said, look, the world does not need another How to Be Pregnant app. There are plenty of those out there. What we're going to do is something different, which is address perinatal mood and anxiety disorders specifically. And this is just a few of a whole range of sobering statistics around just how many pregnant women, pregnant people suffer with mental and behavioral health challenges throughout pregnancy. If you are aware of this at all, you probably think, oh yeah, that's postpartum depression. Well, yes, that's a part of it. But in fact, a lot of what will progress to postpartum depression starts earlier in pregnancy. So the pandemic, as you might expect, made this a lot worse. So as many as 70% of pregnant women report being moderately to highly stressed during the pandemic. In general, the estimated prevalence of PMADs are about 15%, significantly increased risks to the mother and baby, and significantly increased costs. So this is an area of great, like the broader objective of our mission, we're addressing something that is very impactful on a personal level. And there's a lot of value to be captured, which is important when you're trying to create a business in the healthcare space. So what NurtureVR is a, we believe, first of its kind program for these expectant mothers using virtual reality to do a couple of things. We are augmenting prenatal education. So there are elements of things that they need to know, but it's generally not sort of, as Dr. Brooks said, this is not just about sort of how to be pregnant. There's plenty of that, or progress through your pregnancy or take care of the baby. There's plenty of that out there already. This is really focusing on helping women manage more effectively what they're feeling at an emotional and physical level. This is a very mentally challenging time, and they can be helped through those challenges, including basic things like making it okay to feel super stressed out. We often hear from women, this is a time in their lives where everyone around them thinks it's such a happy time. They should just be on top of the world and feeling nothing but happy thoughts. And of course, the reality can be much more challenging. So what we're doing is providing that education, psychoeducation, mindfulness skill building, as well as they progress through labor and delivery. We're providing pain management for labor and delivery, as well as progressing through the what some call the fourth trimester, when you're back at home with the baby and you're tackling a whole new set of very stressful issues at that point as well. So briefly, the story of Nurture, we met Dr. Lewis at the Virtual Medicine Conference in Los Angeles in 2018. It felt like a great match from day one to his vision of what he had in mind for a progressive program that could provide education, that had that sense of multi-session progressive capability where the system was tracking the patient through time. Rob had a vision about that, was happy to find that we had an architecture to support that. And I give he and Dr. Brooks all the credit. It was them that said, you know what, this is a big area of need in PMADs and maternal mental health, and let's address it together. So we set off on that journey. We launched NurtureVR in 2020 to a group of pilot moms at Hoag. Like any digital program, you need to iterate, right? You need to get out there. We learned a lot. We did a number of things wrong. With the help of those early pilot moms and the team at Hoag, we've made the program better and better, and we're still on that progression. So we're very excited to see the Nurture program continue to progress and reach more and more people in need during pregnancy. So at a very high level, this is sort of how the content of Nurture progresses over time. So during that third trimester, there's an introduction around sort of the power of VR, introduction to mindfulness, just getting people used to the program. And then we have education as well as continuing mindfulness practice around building healthy practices, dealing with physical changes in the body, sleeping better, dealing with physical activity. Then there's preparing for labor, helping mothers understand what to expect during labor. And then we add in elements of pain management as we head for labor. So there was a study done at Cedars-Sinai a few years ago. Applied VR did some great work with a researcher there to show that there was a lot of promise in using virtual reality and the things that many of us understand about how to use VR for distraction to help during labor. And that's a great thing. And we appreciate that trailblazing work that they did. One of the learnings from that was that many mothers would, if the first time they've ever seen a VR headset is when they're going to labor, they may be like, what, are you nuts? That's not something that I understand what to do with, or is not relevant to me. So in the design of Nurture, what we're doing is introducing the mothers before they're ready for labor and delivery to VR. It's their headset. They're used to using it. We help them build things like breathing exercise skills and readiness for that labor and delivery period. And then they can use that pain management capability during labor. And we've had a number of great reports from mothers who have done just that. So beyond labor and delivery, then there's into the fourth trimester with postpartum care and helping mothers. And we're proactively dealing with what for some can be a challenging time where they maybe don't feel the sense of bonding or emotional connection that they expected. And so we're helping with, again, psychoeducation, helping moms expect and understand that sometimes this happens. It's not abnormal and that they can work through it. So building sort of that skin to skin connection with the baby and helping with mother-baby bonding, as well as helping with relationships and stress management during this completely transformational time where life as the family knew it prior to the baby arriving is completely changed. Here's just a few images from inside the experience. I won't sort of narrate all of these to you other than to say it's a variety of educational content, mindfulness. One of the more powerful things we thought would be really neat, and in fact, the feedback we've gotten is very supportive of this, is there's one virtual environment where you can go and there's a baby sort of progressing depending on your stage of pregnancy. There's an interesting learning. When we first modeled these babies, we did it in a very sort of medically accurate way, and it generally freaked people out because the babies, the way that they look while they're actually developing in the womb is not something that you want it to feel a little bit more warm and fuzzy. And so we actually made that a little less realistic and a little more pleasant. But what we've heard from mothers is they have this sort of amazing experience of feeling very connected to the baby while they're practicing mindfulness in this sort of virtual womb. And it creates a real sense of bonding and connection between mother and baby, even though obviously it's just a representation of what's going on inside their body. Sorry, my internet clicker is being a little slow here. All right, I want to show you a couple of quick videos, then we're going to wrap it up and I'll take some questions. But just to share what we've heard from actual users of NurtureVR. So I may need help from the facilitators if we can click on the Danielle Collins video.
I just gave birth. NurtureVR, the platform is so unique that everyone wants to try it. And the second that you pull out the headset, my family had a million questions. Where did you get that? What are you using? How are you, what are you learning this week? What's the baby doing this week? And it just became something that we looked forward to doing together. And we looked, forward to having those conversations about the baby's growth and about what I was learning. And also, during COVID, my husband wasn't able to come to a single doctor's appointment, as he didn't get to see in person a single ultrasound, nothing. It was a very isolating time in the sense that I did everything alone. And so NurtureVR gave me the ability to really have that one-on-one connection with my family in real time in the room and be experiencing some of those moments that we might have experienced in a doctor's office together.
All right, can we play the Gina video?
I just gave birth. I'm in my 4th trimester, and I was able to do my birthing classes in the comfort of my own home. Let me show you how. NurtureVR supports women on their journey from pregnancy to motherhood. For 22 weeks, I was able to learn week by week what was going on with me and my baby while I was pregnant, then use it during labor to help calm my anxiety and breathe through the pain. But I also had an additional 8 weeks where I was learning about my postpartum life and body. NurtureVR is full of educational material and mindfulness skills any mom-to-be will find helpful.
NurtureVR was developing deep collaborations with moms, physicians, nurses, and midwives, so you know you're getting the right information about you and your changing body. NurtureVR is simple, enjoyable, and practical for moms to use on their own time and terms.
Do you think it's helping with your contraction?
Yeah, like it's way better. When they say distraction works and smiling helps, they mean it.
So a couple of great videos. We've got other video testimonials on our website if you want to check it out. And just we're short on time, so I won't read you these. But the great thing is we're getting amazing feedback from these first mothers, making the program better with their feedback, which is important in any digital program. And I think we're clearly tapped into something that's very helpful and is going to help reach a lot of additional women. So we won't spend a whole bunch of time here, but we just recently, with Hoag's help, did a survey of these first 100 mothers, asking about things like level of satisfaction. Did NurtureVR help you feel more prepared for your journey in motherhood? What you liked most about the sessions, how many sessions they ran, et cetera. Mindfulness and the guided meditation is the most popular, particularly when they're sort of doing it with the Baby This Week modules, which is the representation of the progressive growth of the baby week by week, and the psychoeducation and trimester modules is actually quite popular as well. All right, let's advance the slide, please. How likely are we to refer NurtureVR to a friend? So a strong percentage of extremely and somewhat likely. Like any new product, there's some women who didn't like it as much, and we value that feedback as well because that helps us make the program better. And then there's also a strong signal that there is a desire to see more data about benefits of nurture. And so we're very excited to have a couple of clinical studies getting underway to demonstrate how NurtureVR is going to help with identifying risk or incidents of perinatal mood and anxiety disorders earlier and help women address those proactively to hopefully steer them away from worsening anxiety and depression during pregnancy. Last thing I'll state is we've put a lot of work with Hoag's help into really taking the friction out of the experience of VR. And this is relevant for all of us who are working in the space. For now, still a whole lot of people that we are trying to reach don't have their own VR headsets. And so this is something that we as an industry still have to be good at. And so we've gotten a lot better. Rob and Allison would tell you in the early stages, it was a little clunky, but we've gotten now to a point where a mother can scan a QR code in a clinic, fill out a simple form. Depending on the setting, there may be an e-commerce checkout process, and a couple of days later, a fully configured headset shows up at her home. She syncs with a code and off she goes. So this is important for all of us working in the industry to continue to streamline. As more and more headsets are out in the world and people can just download apps from the App Store, obviously this will be a whole lot easier. And that's a future that I know we're all looking forward to. We've also spent a lot of time really trying to create delight and engagement throughout the process, from packaging to the unboxing process and the onboarding process, making that more streamlined as well. And closing thought, we're super excited about our partnership with Save Moms, which is a national campaign of REACH, a global social impact organization focused on the healthcare experience and reaching more people who do not have the means to pay for digital health programs themselves. So in a nutshell, what we're doing here is doing a $10 for every Nurture, a $10 give back to Save Moms for every sale of Nurture. And we're giving mothers who have purchased Nurture themselves an opportunity to pay it forward when they're done. If they want to donate their headset to a mom who may not otherwise be able to afford it, she can do that. And it's a tax deductible contribution as well. So we're excited about reaching as many people as we can, regardless of their ability to pay for this program. As we work on our clinical studies and then ideally get to a place where employers and payers will have the data they need to pay for this and make this a part of employer benefit coverage, as well as Medicaid plans around the country. So I want to thank Hoag again for all of their great partnership and working with us on Nurture. I appreciate the opportunity to present here today, and I see Rob coming online there.
Yeah, thanks so much, Aaron. Great overview, and I love the work you guys are doing. I mean, I think one of the great things that you have this kind of module or the core foundation is the combination of educational content, motivational content, and activational or mindfulness content. I think that model really will carry well as you kind of expand into other areas of behavioral health, and which is why I'm so proud of the work that we've done together on Nurture, and I look forward to doing a lot more. We do have one question from one of the viewers, and says, how would a newly pregnant woman gain access to NurtureVR headsets?
So anyone can go to behavior.com today and navigate to a page where you can sign up directly. We are making Nurture available direct to consumer. We will continue to work to make this available via employer coverage and ideally at some point Medicaid coverage as well. But it is a D2C offering available nationwide right now.
Great. Thanks so much, Aaron.
All right. Thanks again, Rob. And thanks to the whole team at Hoag for your great partnership.